Hey guys, welcome back. So glad to be here with you guys today. As you can see behind me, I'm highlighting chapter 2, which is a really crucial chapter in the book, From Success to Significance. It was such an honor to be able to take part in this book with my good friend Curtis Estes. His vision casting wisdom that he has is something that hopefully all of you guys get a chance to see out there. And our hope is that these activities really take you on to a life of greater success and greater significance out there. We don't want this to be something that you get on a high in 2017 and try to implement, and then 2 or 3 months later you haven't picked this thing back up. This is a manual. It is a vision casting manual that you will use to build a ton of stuff into your life that will then carry into greater levels of success and on to the other side of that, which is where you find significance. So in chapter 2, which is one of my, I would say again, one of the most important chapters, and one of the ones that I want to spend a little bit more time on in later recordings, but this is where we introduce the 6 vision building exercises, okay? Those things that are going to take you to a greater mindset, a greater thought, greater goal setting each day to get you to where you want to be. And if you can picture this like a pyramid that's inverted, it's an upside down pyramid, the funnel, so to speak, is going the other direction. And that's where we want to get at the end of this thing, is a bigger vision. But we also have to know why we want that bigger vision. So again, picture this pyramid upside down. The wide base that's normally at the bottom is now up top. That's where our bigger vision is. From there, down a step, we have to figure out the strategic strategy that we're going to use to get the bigger vision, but that is driven by our compelling why. So you can have a lot of strategies out there, but if it's not driven by your compelling why, you're likely not going to stay on track for as long as you need to. A step down from that is the exact implementation, or exacting the implementation on how you're going to do that, and then realizing the transforming results. So you see the results that, or you visualize the results that you want to have, you exact how you're exacting how you're implementing those things down the road. You are putting your strategic strategy in place that's driven by your why, very important there, which then leads us to a bigger vision. So as I did in the first chapter, I want to read through just a couple of bits of the book that I've taken that I think might be helpful for you guys, and talk through that a little bit. But the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to look back. For those of you that did it, hopefully you did. For those of you that look back in chapter 1 at the description of your ideal life, or your ideal worksheet, that's on page 2 of this book. I would say for some of you it probably looks like this. You guys have mapped out your career. It represents all that you wanted. Of course, there's nothing on your ideal life that you don't want, right? There's no perfect life, but there's typically nothing you don't want on your ideal life. For some of you, it's after years and years of marriage. You and your spouse are still super close and super strong. You've got a great relationship with your children, your siblings, or your parents. You've got time to travel and the money to do so. You've got hobbies that you're pursuing. You're spending time with close friends. Those may be some of the things that are on your ideal worksheet. Each day, it seems, is going to be more fulfilling than the next because you're mapping out this ideal life. Okay, now pause. Contrast that between the life that you wrote down on your ideal life and the life that you now have, or reality, right? This is like going to be a shock to some of you guys. And this is what happens when 2 radically opposed polarities come into contact with one another, right? Your discontent worsens. The magnitude of where you want to be compared to where you are becomes a very alarming shock. And the more detailed you've become on this ideal life and how different it is compared to your life that you have today, the more that shock is going to be. But this reality, hopefully you guys pick up on this as you read through our book, this reality is, the shock is further magnified, and the reality is further worsened by the fact that you realize you're living your life by default. And living a life by default, at best, is dissatisfying, it's boring, it's incomplete. We all know that. Beyond just startling, right? Okay, so think for instance, some of you out there who know people that are financially successful, but they're chained to jobs. We all know that. They're missing dinner with their family members. They're glued to their computers or their smartphones while they're on vacation the entire time. I used to be that guy. I didn't have everything in my life that I have right now as far as kids and responsibilities, so I felt like it was okay to take my computer on every vacation because I needed to work, and I justified it, right? There's no way that I would want to do that now. It's just, there's too much at stake. There's too much that's important for me to be engaged and be present during that time. So we've all had the thought or the experience of wanting something, whether it's a new gadget, a luxury vehicle, whatever. You fill in the blank, guys, for you out there. But what happens when we get that? We realize that obtaining that that reality we thought that would fulfill us, obtaining that, did not get us any closer to our dream. And so I would say this, if we're going to lead a rich and fulfilling life, we cannot allow our vision to be sabotaged by getting the next best thing, or getting tied to a job with screens in our face all the time, or getting tied to something that you can't get out of because you feel financially dependent, where you're tied to that, like the golden handcuffs type thing or whatever. When we decide on a vision for our life, guys, and this is so important, we must know that its achievement will bring us fulfillment. And that's a couple of exercises we take you through in the book here, is realizing that your fulfillment is going to have to be found in your vision. And if you can't find it, then you have to keep working on your vision. Now, we don't know how the years are going to play out, right? I may set up a vision today for the next year that gets totally turned upside down, but if I'm focused on it, I'm going to be better at the end of that and be able to adapt to the things that come my way than if I wasn't. Okay, so a proper vision, most of you know, enables us to take those proactive steps to achieve where we're trying to go. But a life lived by default is a life lived in reaction. It's not a life lived in strategy. It's lived in reaction. And you find yourself spending more time doing what you should do or have to do rather than you want to do. And I know some of you out there listening right now that are resonating with that in a huge way and just don't know where to go. And again, that is what we hope this manual shows you how to do through these exercises. You've got to put in the work. We give you the tools to help you figure out how to get there. Okay, so a life by design, remember, is living purposefully. And that's something I can't state enough. You're taking intentional steps to get you closer to that goal. Not living a life by default, but living a life by design. We are strategically and with much consequence known on the outside if we don't get there, we are strategically designing this thing because we don't want to veer off path. And we know that a life of default is not a life of living purposely, and it will take us in the wrong direction. Too many of us, Curtis says in the book, too many of us have become accidental tourists in our own lives. I love that phrase because we're allowing happenstance to be our guide versus living with power and confidence. We're living in imposed action and fear on us from just the happenstance that happens to us each day. Most of our days, again, are filled with activities that we should do. We're living a life dangerously out of balance. I, for one, have been guilty of that. But many people out there that you look up to, they're hiding that. They have a lot of that going on, and it later comes out down the road. You just don't want to be that person that's fooled by someone thinking you think they have it all together and you realize they were just living a life of default as well. They could just play the part a little bit better, right? We're all actors on a stage at some point whenever we try to put our best foot forward, whether it be in business or in our family. The whole fake it till you make it thing only lasts so long once you have enough responsibilities on you. So we want you to map out this vision to where you don't have a situation where you're having to fake it until you make it. We want you to live a life full of purpose and design. And later on in the book, for those of you that have it or that will get it, we're going to talk about the importance of schedules. Time blocking is something, I just interviewed yesterday, Jay Papasan of The One Thing, and he made a comment in our podcast, I'm paraphrasing here, but he made a comment about Gary Keller and how one of the biggest things that Gary Keller has taught him in their relationship together is how to do more with the time he has, how to time block and get a bigger vision for where it is that he's trying to go. And that's what I hope all of you guys do, is you figure out that scheduling is so important. A schedule really does represent a person's life. It's therefore the most single important tool in creating your life by design. And I cannot reinforce that enough. As simple as it sounds, a person's schedule truly is the exact measure, guys, of how they spend their time. Whether you're going to love or hate your days, whether your life is filled with wants or shoulds, and if it's filled with shoulds versus wants, we all know where that is going to lead over your lifetime. In fact, one of the first exercises we have you do in this chapter is a wants versus should schedule. And what you should do is you should take a 24-hour block of time that reflects your typical day, and you should take an honest account of every activity that happens within this day. And you should classify each one of those activities into two categories. One is the categories you believe you want to be doing during the day. These are the things that are going to leverage your highest ideas, your most important priorities. These are the things that are going to move you in the direction where you really want to go. And the other category are the things that you feel like you should be doing but are perhaps not essential or could be delegated. We all get caught up in the things that we should be delegating. So again, wants in my schedule, activities that I love, shoulds in my schedule, which is activities that I dislike. And as we walk through this paradigm shift of creating bigger visions and getting out of your own way and the self-sabotage and all the stuff we talk about in this book, these activities really do build on each other. You've got your ideal life statement that we first talked about in chapter 1. You're now starting to map out the activities that you want to do in life versus the shoulds that you should be doing in life. And guys, I'll tell you, as simple as this sounds, this isn't rocket science, but as simple as this sounds, you will start to learn so much about yourself that was right there under the surface the entire time holding you back that you didn't even realize. And I'm so excited for more of you. I mean, the response has been awesome. It's been overwhelming. I can't complain about any lack of activity going on with the book here. But I just wish more of you had it in your hands to where you could really feel the excitement that I felt when I was going through some of these exercises that Curtis helps you to lay out in this book, and then the corresponding chapters that go along with it to really tell you how to build a life of vision and a life of design, not by default. So real short video here today. Couple of things that you're going to hear in upcoming recordings that I'm going to do from this first section. Vision building activity number 1, which is going to be one of my absolute favorite exercises that I personally could go through in this book, and that is designing or making your highlight reel. Mapping out of the thousands of memories you've ever had, mapping out your highlight reel, identifying your unique ability. Activity 4 is your to-be list. That's a huge one for me. Number 5 is your personal legacy, writing your legacy as if you're already gone from this earth. What are people writing about you that you've now left behind? And doing that on yourself can seem sort of weird at first, but boy, is it powerful. It is so powerful whenever you do that. And then finally, we cap it off with the end of the funnel, which is creating your bigger vision. So guys, thanks so much. Tune in to my YouTube channel, my Facebook channel at Success 101 Podcast, or my Instagram page. You're going to see more of these videos popping up, and I'll also have the podcast going out for these in the next upcoming weeks, but wanted to go ahead and get this out to you guys today. Thanks so much for your time, and go grab the book. If you want a copy, email my team, info@Success 101 Podcast, to grab your copy. Again, info@Success 101 Podcast. Go grab yours now.